Hey guys, we're here again at the 94th Street duplex. As you can see, we've started doing the forming for the stairs. Basically how the stairs are placed so concrete can be poured on top of it and rebar placed. Pretty soon this whole area will be filled with 4x4s, about 100 4x4s holding up a floor of plywood that will end up holding all the rebar and the concrete. ¿Qué están haciendo hoy? ¿Qué es lo próximo que hace falta aquí? Ay, nadie sabe. Next thing we're doing here, full layer of plywood for the second floor. Basically what we do is we spread out a bunch of these 4x4s all throughout the slab. Those 4x4s are then gonna hold up a bunch of horizontally placed 2x4s that we have here and here. On top of that go several sheets of plywood. So the plywood is being used as a makeshift desk over here. We have Ronnie calculating the required rebar. We'll go check out what he's up to now. Going to create the base for the rebar on the second floor. Basically we need the same 2,000 square feet that we have on the first floor of plywood to hold up the rebar. That'll be the floor for our second story. Here we have Ronnie checking out the plans to calculate how many rebar of each kind and what angles and what length we need all throughout. We're preparing the form. So you see here a bunch of 4x4 pieces of wood spread out, several 2x4s, and on top of that we'll start placing plywood. So that's necessary for when we pour concrete, and so you need to stop it from falling straight to the ground. So that's where a whole bed of plywood, they've already started putting up 2x4s, then the plywood goes on top of that, and then we're able to prepare the rebar that will go inside the concrete. Here you have what are called chairs. They hold up the rebar on top of the plywood by a couple inches so that concrete can fully engulf the rebar. Here's one of the biggest pains about miscalculating block. We had about 2 extra pallets of block from when we did the first floor, and instead of removing it from in here, it's still sitting in here. We'll probably pour the concrete and encase the whole second floor, and these will still be sitting here. Part of the job. This is the kind of makeshift stairs to the second story. We're setting up, like I said before, the plywood floor. First we set up a bunch of 4x4s holding up 2x4 planks, and then plywood will be placed on top of this, and then that's where all the rebar bed will be set up. And then finally we will be pouring concrete onto that, and we'll have our second story slab and continue on from there. We just completed that initial form work for the second story. There's many more 4x4s Well, I guess they're not fully attached yet. They'll be holding up all these series of plywood. Comes out to be about 100 4x4 posts holding up plywood sheets, and above that we'll have the rebar. All right, don't step on it now. Okay, here is the top of the plywood formwork. Again, we haven't completed that plywood yet. This will all get filled with a whole layer of rebar. I hope this holds me up, feels secure enough. So this will end up being our second floor slab. The workers, again, still have to put up a little tie beam. It goes around the edge, and that's what we call a tie beam, and that really reinforces the floor with the walls. It ties it all together with rebar and concrete and becomes much more secure. So we had the rebar delivered today. It was all calculated by Ronnie. It was detail by detail, numbers on which number rebar and the length, and which ones need angles, and what angles. Some of them have 45-degree angles. We also have, I know in Spanish they're called escuadras. They're just really L's, 30 by 30 L's. There's something called hoops, or in Spanish, aros. So these hoops are what will go around a series of usually 4 rebar through the middle and holds it all together to give it that real structural integrity that's necessary.